What's up, everybody? It is I, D-Bird. Also, who are you?
My name is DJB.
Hi, DJB. The hosts with the mosts from coast to coast. Well, really only one coast, West Coast.
Best
The
Coast.
best coast.
Yep.
Back again, talking about our favorite show, Survivor. This week, episode 4, lot went down. And, we're just here to make sure everyone is informed and that we can, expel some of the trauma after yelling at the TV screens. Now we get to yell at each other about it.
I am looking forward to this. I actually almost called you on Friday Eve when my family and I settled and watched together.
I'm always available. If you want, we spend an hour each week reviewing this together live. But if you're just so frustrated, you're like, I got to get it out. I'm always here for you, buddy.
Less frustration than excitement.
Oh.
But we'll get into it.
Okay. Well, where to start? So the episode that just ended, Aisha just got voted out, and Rome successfully basically ham-fisted, like, I've got an idol, everybody, so you're going to vote the way I want it. Saul was blindsided. Teeny, okay, this is insane. Teeny was like, I just couldn't fathom writing her name down, so I put Saul. She put Saul. Crazy move, because she explained it this way. She's like, I was so close with Aisha, I couldn't write her name down, so I just tossed a vote to Saul. Well, you knew where the votes were going to land. You knew your team was voting out Aisha, and you decided to basically make them not trust you, as well as make Saul not trust you 1,000 times. You can't work with the guy you just voted on. So now you're on an island all of your own making.
A teeny island, if you will.
I will.
Very lonely, small place.
God, she sucks.
Yeah, when she did that, I was like, she owned up to it right away. There are no secrets. And I'm thinking, okay, emotions aside, sometimes you have to think linear and logically. And
yes.
The only thing I could think is, like, she felt like her relationship was strong enough with Saul that even if she wrote down his name, she'd be able to come to him and talk to him. And wasn't she the one flexing, like, her way of wording things so wonderfully?
Yeah, she's an
like,
idiot.
Yeah, she thought she could just wordsmith it and, like, weave him into her good graces again.
You're not that charming. No matter how much you call yourself a scarecrow, you're not that likable.
'Tis the season. October is hers.
I guess. It's just, it makes no sense, because at the end of the day, when you write somebody's name down, they're the last person to trust you. And sure, out of desperation, you can maybe get creative with it, but it's such a self-inflicted wound, And also, we see Rome celebrating, literally saying out loud with his own mouth, Rome ended up prevailing, baby.
Yeah. Hey, all things coming up Rome right now. Saul has a great line later on that we'll get to regarding Rome, but Rome just bothers me to no end.
So bad. And he's like turning to his group and saying, the Alliance has a steal a vote. I understand it, right? When people know you have an advantage, first of all, never tell. But second of all, you have to pretend like, oh, this is for us. I'm doing it for us. But it's never for us, right?
No, there is only one sole survivor. Like, at some point, somebody's going to have to get feelings hurt. It brings me back to when I used to play Risk against my friends, and, like, we'd always have, like, side agreements, like, hey, I'm not attacking you, but then, like, I'd be sneaking people along my border. Like, at some point we're gonna attack each other, right? But, like, this is human Risk, except there's no real death.
Risk
or dice. There's no dice.
Dice. Yeah, I think the whole thing's fun. It's really silly when everyone does it, is like, this idol I have, it's not for me, it's for us. It's like, okay, well, you could still do that by not telling a soul and just using it for your alliance, and then later being like, I couldn't tell you for these reasons, but I saved you. You're welcome.
Right. It's just like what Teeny's doing, trying to backpedal from making a poor decision. Like, you don't tell anybody, and then if you do tell somebody, well, now you got to double down that this is a team idol or a team advantage. Like, but you're right. It's, you don't say that unless you have to say that. And the only time you have to say that is if you let it slip that you have something.
Yeah. Yep. And then, so it shows the fallout for that. They're all kind of celebrating, other than Saul, who is, weeping. And Teeny is trying to explain, like, no, it's not you, it's me. And then the camera pans over to Gata, where we've got a rapper, DJB.
Oh my God. I wrote down like that 40 seconds felt like 4 hours. The whole time I was like, I can't watch. Now I can't listen. It was so hard.
All right, here's a real question.
Yeah.
On television, in front of all the girls, starving, not, in the right mind, sun-soaked, could you do better?
Yes, absolutely. I could do better.
You can freestyle better than that.
Yes. You could tell he had one line and he's like, oh no. Because he rhymed, I forgot what it was, something, and then a milli, and he's like, on Survivor, and he's like, oh no, my cadence is off. And then he never returned.
Was this what got y'all excited to want to call me?
No, I wanted to text you in all caps at that moment.
No, that's the one I wanted to break my TV. Yeah,
that was the frustration.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it reminded me of early like drunken frat freestyles, where there's just a lot of like filler of like, and when I'm coming, and when I, it's just like he just kept on saying, and and like clearly that's to give his brain some time to think. And unfortunately, this time around, the brain was never able to catch back up to that rhyme and to the line.
I'm so neurotic though. If I were on the island and there ever was a moment, just because the way I'm programmed, I would be thinking about things I could rap about around me in my surroundings, so that if the time called, I'd be pointing out coconuts and palm trees and all that. Like,
got some on deck for island life.
Exactly. Well, when I used to go to shows, because I always forgot my lyrics, like I would scan the room in advance and have like 4 to 6 bars that I just had that were relevant to that specific show or venue or people in the crowd, because I would forget the lyrics, and if Precise wasn't there to save me, then it was bad.
I kind of love that strategy. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe this could be one of the DJB tips of like, if you're ever, bad at memorizing lines, I got you.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's so cool because someone's like, oh my gosh, this is special. He called up my red hat.
Yeah. So I was just at a 2 Feet concert yesterday, and it was kind of funny because how the artists always engage with the fans or whatever. It felt like they were doing the bare minimum. And I love 2 Feet, great songs, big fan. But he's like, what's up, Portland? And then they do a song, and the next one's like, Portland, you're the best. Do a song. Next one, man, Portland, you're a good crowd. Next, and it's just like, you said Portland 3 times in a row, but you never actually like made a joke or tried to personalize. It's just like, you're the best, Portland.
At least they got the city right. They're like, Saskatchewan.
They didn't fuck up the city. That was the one job. And they did an encore right after they did the most famous song. And everyone's kind of like, well, there's got to be an encore, but I've heard all the ones that they're known for. And so they came back and did kind of one more song for the encore that I didn't recognize or even really like. So it's just,
it's like when the band comes out, like, we're going to do the new stuff tonight. It's like, no, I played the unreleased new stuff.
You had one song from the 90s I liked. Play Wonderwall. Yeah. So anyways, Sam is freestyling like a fool for, I do think that this has happened. I've experienced it where even with a bad freestyle, the normals will be like, oh my God, how did you do that? They seem sort of impressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at very least entertained.
Well, I mean, there's not much competition out there, right?
Yeah. It's either
whatever Andy's doing or that.
yeah, it's either burn to death from the sun, get third-degree, blisters on my forehead, or listen to this white boy freestyle.
Yeah, with a lisp.
With a lisp. And then the girls all go out to, the water. Annika's talking about societies in Korea where all the women live together. And this is where we get the first mention of the Breadwinner Alliance. Who run the world, DJB?
Breadwinners. Oh, was I supposed to say girls?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Try again. Just rewind. Who run the world?
Girls.
Breadwinners.
Yeah, no ER.
No. So, yeah, basically, the girls talk about forming an all-girl alliance, calling it the Breadwinners Alliance, and that is the first time we see that. Going back over to Gata?
That's where the breadwinners were.
Lavo. Sue.
That's Rome. Nope, that's Tuku.
Damn it. Tuku. I swear to God, I'll get one of these.
I'm locked in. I have a grid with everybody in their tribe and who's been voted out and who's nominated who. That's how I keep it straight. Maybe
you should drive then. Well, I was just going to comment on Sue at Tuku. Basically being Gabe's pawn, Gabe being like, I needed an old woman, and here's this old woman. Gotcha. Yeah. And she's trying to convince her team that she is 45 years old and thinks she did a stellar job. This woman looks no younger than 80 years old.
Okay, easy.
And she's like, I'm 45. And everyone's like, oh, No, bless her heart. But just because you got all the plastic surgery in the world does not mean that it ages you down. You just look more crazy with your lips.
So she's 58.
Yes.
Let the record show.
On the record, 58.
She could have said, I'm 52. And, I'm sun-beaten. I'm weathered. That's more believable. But you're really going to shoot for 13 years younger? That's a stretch. That's what I was thinking. And Kyle's just a nice guy. I was like, was Kyle really fooled because he's really young? Or was he just like, okay, cool, lady. Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest here. And I mean this with all due respect. I'm also an older gentleman, right? But to the youngs, the difference between 45 and 58 is nothing. You might as well just say the same number. You know what I mean?
Old and older. That's
yeah. 58. Oh, okay. 45. Oh, okay. It doesn't. That's not a crazy difference. If you said I'm 35, sure, everyone's gonna be like, oh shit. But I don't think there's anything to gain for that age gap difference.
No.
And I don't understand it.
No.
What a weird lie.
Yeah, exactly. I just kept thinking okay, Jordan was out of the league before he was 45, so I don't care. He's the greatest athlete ever. You're not an athlete. Anything over 40, I'm like, no, it's not going to work.
Not it. Yeah, you're not Michael Jordan, Sue.
Yeah, get it right, Sue. I was watching Like Mike with my children just before recording this. So MJ's stuck in my head, which he is about 84% of the day anyways.
I mean, if there's one person to have stuck in your head, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So Sue's young, nubile, 45-year-old body goes looking for advantages, finds a Beware advantage, and I kind of like what they did with this one because a bucket of red paint just splats on the ground, and then she's like, oh, fuck. It gets everywhere. There's red paint on the ground. She's like sweeping it. She's like covering it with sand. And actually, Toya and Caroline find her at the water well with like a machete and just red splotches on her hair and her hand. They're like, Sue, are you hurt? Oh my God. Are you like, you're bleeding? And she's like, no, I'm not. Go away.
But she told like 3 different lies in this like span of 60 seconds. She's like, I cut myself. I did something dumb with the machete. I bit the back of my tongue. It's like, Sue, pick a lane.
Which one?
Yeah.
Which one is it? Yeah. It was so obvious. She's such a bad liar. The girls are clearly like, well, something happened. And she like, I get it. Like, I would be the same way. I'm a bad liar. So caught red-handed, I'd be like, I'm jerking off. Go away. Like,
you would. What's it blood? That doesn't explain the blood at
go
all.
away. Yeah, it'd be a mess.
It made me like Tiana more because she walked away. She's like, I'm really concerned about Sue. It's like, yeah, maybe we should take the machete from Sue. Sue, no more machete water trips solo.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting scene. And she has a big heart. She sees this older woman with a bloody machete, and her first thought isn't, she murdered someone. It's this old bat can't. Yeah. I have the next note I have says Rome walks around with his mouth open.
Like talking or like a Beavis and Butthead scenario? Like,
So this is just something I've noticed. Rome has the biggest fucking mouth, both physically and metaphorically. And so I think the next scene, Saul was like looking for an idol because he knew it was back in play and he knew he was on the bottom, right? So basically Saul was running around looking for an idol and Rome is literally shadowing him side by side with his fucking stupid mouth open, just mouth breathing. Basically Saul's like, everyone gets to look for the idol but me. And Rome's like, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't. He was trying to manipulate him, but very poorly. Just like, oh, well, you don't want to be seen as like looking, like it's a bad look. I'm just saying for your own sake. And he's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, I know what it is. I'm going to go look. And everyone else is looking too. And you're just going to follow me around. And so Rome basically bullied him into like just literally side by side, not letting him out of his sight.
And I like Saul because at some point he's like, I've never been bullied like this, especially by someone his size.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Oh, that was such a good line. He's like, I don't let anyone talk to me that way, especially not someone his size.
And then as they're walking and Rome's like right on his heels, Teeny does like breaks the third wall like The Office and looks at the camera.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you guys fucking seeing this?
But she doesn't step in or anything. She's like, I'm just going to let it play off.
Because she's useless. Such a follower. But Saul later tracks down Genevieve, sees maybe this is a crack that he can exploit, and tries to say, like, Rome is fucked up. He's been following me around, treating me like shit. Like, you really going to listen to this guy? Like, maybe we should work together. Mm-hmm. And she does the same thing that all Survivor players should do. Yes, totally. Yeah. We should work.
Every time you hear a plan, why do you not say yes until yes is not a viable option?
Exactly.
Like, just keep your options open. That was tough to say. Keep your options open. But then that's when things really start moving in the episode, is when Saul like kind of throws out that lifeline. Genevieve has open ears, and then conversations start. I think we've been talking about Keyshawn being like a really smart dude this whole time.
Yeah.
I think Keyshawn started feeling himself a little bit too much. He was doing really good just hanging back, but he's like, oh, I want to shake things up.
Yeah.
And dropped a name. And again, That's Survivor 101. You don't tell what you have. You don't say no immediately to a plan, and you don't drop a name unless you have to, because it always comes back.
Well, and what's interesting too, so he chooses Genevieve to be the fake name to give to Saul. And he says that to Rome. He's like, oh, I don't know. Like, there's only really one other person to like put on the option table other than himself and Teeny, right? So he's like, oh, I don't know. What if we tell Saul it's Genevieve? And Rome's like, oh, yeah, smart. And then when Rome talks to Genevieve, is like, yeah, I guess Keyshawn did mention it should be your name that we throw out there. And she picked up on that.
Yeah. Do you think Rome knew what he was doing? I think he accidentally did that, but that was what saved him. It's like this guy just falls into good fortune every single week. And
Every week.
It's so frustrating because the last thing he wanted to do was throw Keyshawn under the bus, because he even tried to walk it back like, well, there was no malice or anything in there.
Yeah.
But by saying that, that was the sole reason that, well, the episode's still going to progress, but that's the only reason
it saved him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it is so frustrating to see this poor, like a bad player, just a bad human, it looks like. Just the way that he's portrayed on TV, whether he's trying to or not, very unlikable. And he keeps falling into success. He's Mr. Magooing his way through this Survivor game. Just like, oh, I can't see where I'm going. Oops, is this an idol? Fucking guy. But we'll get back into them in a little bit. The one other kind of scene before the challenge was back at Gata. Andy's shot in the dark was left on the ground. Just this sloppy fuck. Sam was like, bro, your shit's on the ground. Take care of your shit. And then, because they trust each other, Andy tells Sam, he's number one. Yeah, so the girls, like Sierra told Andy in confidence about the Breadwinners Alliance, and then Andy immediately runs to Sam and talks about the Breadwinner Alliance. Just like, yeah, so I guess the girls have this thing. They're calling it the Breadwinners Alliance. I don't know. And Sam's like, what the fuck? And immediately goes to Sierra, his number one. Is like, why the fuck didn't you tell me? You're going to tell this motherfucker and not me?
That's what I don't get. It's like Andy somehow uses AI brain to trick Sierra. He's like, hey, does that dating rumor with you and Sam bother you? She's like, no, not really. But here's what's going on. And he's like, again, he's like lucking into things too. And then Sam's trying to big bro. I'm like, you need to just like step carefully, come up with an excuse that you need to take a nap, get your shot in the dark back.
Yeah.
And so like Sam's playing smart and logical, but Sam's two number ones, Andy and Sierra, like have this weird side thing going on and didn't say anything to Sam, even though he's the only like reliable one in the crew.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned like the advice Sam gave, right? He's like, yeah, just pretend you're napping and just pick it up, whatever. Like, meanwhile, everyone already knew and kind of made fun of him for it behind his back. But the way Andy approached this is like, do you mind if I nap? Literally, Sam's like, just pretend you're napping or something. He says, do you mind if I nap?
I'm telling you, man, there's a computer inside his head.
My big brother told me I should nap. Do you mind if I do so?
Yeah. Oh, man.
I also wrote down Andy is the survivor, George Costanza.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
I just mean he is just such a neurotic fuck who is just running around doing all the wrong things, and yet somehow good things still happen to him. I just don't get it.
It's funny that we have Rome on one side who's very like extroverted, very full of himself, doesn't ever have an issue with confidence, and he's screwing up left and right, but it's all coming up roses. Mm-hmm. And then Andy's the complete polar opposite, like the most, like, I don't know, not antisocial, but like he can't assimilate to whatever the situation dictates, right? Like he is just his weird self on an island and he's making mistakes left and right, but he's got like the reverse effect where like people kind of like I don't know if they pity him or if they want to show empathy and like take him under their wings. So like they forgive it, like, oh, that's just Andy. He's different. And like we're gonna end up at the merge with both these knuckleheads, and I hope somehow their forces combine and they form an alliance together because it would be the most dysfunctional television ever.
That would be a hilarious alliance. Yeah, I mean, it's just so frustrating. It's kind of like, what did they say in 2016 that the Mayans, like we skipped a comet or some shit where we actually had a different timeline that we fell into accidentally. And it kind of feels like ever since then, just all the wrong things keep happening. And that's like, what fucking timeline is this? Where each survivor contestant who is just universally the worst is rewarded for being so.
Yeah. I mean, and we lost John week 1. I think there was a big.
That was my guy.
I mean, Asia was a pretty smart player.
Yeah.
Like TK, I could have done without TK. So
TK got what he was. He got that coming to him.
But and then what we're going to talk about this week, it's like we have some really strong players who are going out really early, and I think it's much earlier than you usually look at. Like pick off the strong people so we could go to the end with the weak ones. And the weak ones are just skating on through unscathed.
It's a strategy. So then comes the challenge, right? It's a obstacle course. You're rolling this square cube. You're retrieving these bags of balls, which then you throw through a little field goal onto a platform, and then ultimately landing on a 3D fire puzzle. And, the interesting part about this, Tuku, Gata, they all fucking win. And meanwhile, Lavo, Rome is the one doing the challenge, didn't get one fucking piece.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he got to the puzzle super late either.
He was the first one on the puzzle.
He was like looking at like a round thing. He's like, no, it's not working. Like the monkey in the movie Rocket Man trying to put like the square peg in the round hole, and like Saul's just sitting back. It's the wrong one, Rome. Rome, it's the wrong one.
Yeah. Do you want to switch? Do you want to switch? Do you want to switch?
But like he was so calm. He's like, "Oh, this guy's burying himself." He's like, "Hey, it's still the wrong one."
Dude, it was so frustrating to watch. And honestly, I looked at that and I was like, he's throwing the puzzle. I think that was my takeaway when I first watched. I don't know if it's true after seeing all of his commentary afterwards, but it felt like he was so confident in Saul going home that he threw the challenge to get rid of this guy. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think so.
You think he's just that fucking bad?
I think he's too egotistical to throw something and like risk looking bad for something productive on the other end. Like I legitimately think he just was on the struggle bus and lost his map. Like he was going nowhere, and like I don't know. I don't think he's thinking that far ahead either, honestly. I just think he was bad at the puzzle and had a brain fart.
All right. Well, either way, whether on purpose or not, they fucking lose. Lavo loses. They're going to tribal council. I guess the one interesting thing about the winners, which is Gata, Sierra, big fan of chickens, is excited at the reward because you get these egg-laying chickens. Everyone's like, man, I can't wait for these eggs. Meanwhile, Sam's like, I'm going to murder these fucking things. I'm going to wring their necks like the second we get back to camp and just mow down on some teriyaki chicken. And Sierra's not having it.
No. And at one point, one of the chickens gets out and like, Sam, can you get the chicken? and you know it's like taking everything inside him. Once he catches the chicken, that's just like, chicken dinner, chicken wings, chicken thighs, chicken tendies. I'll do it all.
Yeah, little chicken tendies for sure. Dude, when you're starving and you're like, okay, I've had like 2 grubs for the last week, and then to be presented with a chicken, I think, and again, I think Sam's getting up there as, like, I'm not going to change my vote now, but he's like my number one, right? Like the one that I like the most, that I'd love to see win. He's great. I don't think they're going to let him win, but again, why he's so smart, he's like, there's nothing more than I want is to eat this fucking chicken, but also knowing if I do that against, my vegan tribe mates, they won't be able to trust me and they're never going to work with me and they fucking vote me out.
Yeah. And honestly, you cut 40 seconds of audio out of Survivor and he's probably my number one too, but I'm still stuck on his freestyle.
I was reading some review where it's like, it was so devoid of style. It was free. It was free, but there was no style to it. Oh, so back at Lavo, Rome is playing mob boss. He is threatening Saul. He's basically saying, I have a steal a vote, and unless you give me your shot in the dark, I'm going to steal your vote, and then we're all just going to pile on you anyways. Which is just such a stupid way of going about it, because it's like, oh no, I'm safe if I give you the one chance that I have to not be going home. It made no sense. But again, this is the way Rome's mythological brain works, is like, look, man, you're safe, you're working with us, but also give me that one piece just to show me you trust me.
Yeah.
And Saul's not having it. He's like, nobody, especially Rome size, ever talks to me this way.
So good. So good. Yeah, Rome is just like, maybe he is just like a little Bonaparte, like a little man who finally has power and just wants to exploit it. But it makes no sense, because all that does is put someone in a corner where they're going to throw out any outlandish plan they can to try to beat you. It's like playing poker and, holding like, I don't know, 4 of a kind or something, and then telling everybody, hey, I got 4 of a kind, no one's going to beat this. And somebody's going to like, well, I got to draw for the royal flush now, when normally they would have played their hand a little bit more conservatively.
Exactly. Degenerate gambling. Didn't know that was in you as well. Learn something new every day.
When you're too old to compete at real things, you just throw money away.
Word. I know. I know the feeling. So before they go to tribal council, there's an adventure. And Carolyn, Andy, and Teeny go off, separate from the tribe. They meet on the beach and immediately start talking. They're like, do we have time to talk? Yeah, let's chat. And Andy immediately starts going, I'm on the bottom. Like, the crack in the tribe is me. I will turn on all the people. Weird strategy. Because they're like, oh, well, how can I trust you? Right?
Totally apathetic. Yeah, like, why? Like, and then do you not think anybody's going to say, hey, at the journey we went, like when the merge happens, when we went on that journey, he said, I'm sinking this entire island. Like,
yeah.
Someone's going to say something at some point.
Threw all you guys under the bus. And Carolyn, I loved her line, which I feel like I hear from one smart adventurer every season. She's like, I get really good vibes from you guys, which is just the universal survivor fluff line, right?
Yeah. But again, she's doing it and she's using it correctly. That's my girl.
She's smart. I did write a note. Carolyn, smart. So basically what they find the journey to be is there's 3 amulets. Each person, if they all agree on one person to lose a vote at the next tribal council, then everyone gets an amulet that has to be played together. All 3 have to be played, and it has the same powers as an idol, assuming that the person that lost the vote at tribal doesn't go home that night at the next tribal. And what also happens, which is kind of interesting, adds another layer to it, is with each person that owns one of these relics, once one of the three is knocked off, then it only takes 2 idols or 2 relics to be made into an idol. And then if the other person's knocked off, that one relic is an idol.
Mhm.
So it's kind of in your best interest to get them out, but also you can form that alliance and that trust if you work together.
Right. I think that Caroline probably has a really good spot right now because I don't know that Andy can make it to the merge, and Teeny's kind of in a weird place now, kind of being pitted between Rome and Saul and Keyshawn. Like she's in a weird triangled relationship too. So like they could very well get to the merge where only one of them remains, and then it's just a regular old idol.
Well, basically, one person has to be the bitch, right? And it's Teeny. Teeny ends up doing it. And I thought about this, DJB. This is classic Squid Games game, right? Where out of 3 people, you have to agree one person's going to get disadvantaged, right?
Mhm.
Immediately, Carolyn and Andy say, well, I'm not going to do it. And what does Teeny say? She says, let me think about this.
Ah,
No.
there's already a exactly.
You're done. You're it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, what you say is, well, I'm never fucking doing this ever, ever, ever. You guys figure out which one of you 2 it is, right?
Mhm.
Puts all the pressure on them. Teeny was like, yeah,
Oh shucks.
I guess I'll do it.
I mean, if 2 people have already like adamantly said nope, not doing it, then there's no harm, no foul in the third person doing it, right? If somebody leaves the door open, it's like maybe, and you want to be like that good teamsman and be like, oh well, maybe I will too. Like, let's think of an equitable way that we could do this. Do we want to like draw rocks or rock paper scissors or something? But when the other 2 already did, there's no way you could just be the person who rolls over like, I'll lose my vote. I don't want to work with someone like that.
Ugh. So they all go home with a amulet to be used later, and Teeny loses a vote for what turns out to be a pretty crazy tribal council. So she gets back to camp, and what was the plan? Initially, it was going to be Saul, and then everyone's like, no, fuck Rome. He's exhausting. It was going to be Rome, but then Rome let slip to Genevieve that, oh, Keyshawn threw your name out as the decoy. And then that's what turns the wheels in motion. Genevieve's like, all right, I got to get these 2 warring factions, these 2 arrogant douchebags on my team. Got to get Keyshawn out. That's what's best for my game. And what do you think about that move? Her switching around.
I think the same thing that I've always thought. Lawyers are shrewd, and they will cut your throat in a second. Like their entire livelihood is dependent on their ability to read situations and leverage situations to protect themselves and their client and their money. And the more you win, the better you become well known, well renowned. The higher fees you could charge, the more money you make. So the last thing I ever want to do is put my Survivor game in the hands of a lawyer. I don't know if they know that she's a lawyer, but she definitely moved like a lawyer today. She's like, oh, my name's mentioned? All right, let's go ahead and cut Keyshawn out. We could do this real quick. Because everybody's pissed off at Rome. So 1, it'll get rid of Rome, steal a vote. He already lost his idol. We'll get rid of him whenever we need to because no one likes the dude. 2, it gets rid of Keyshawn, who's probably the 2nd smartest person on this tribe, maybe the smartest person on this tribe, and he'll be blindsided. And then 3, I still got Saul in my pocket because I saved his life. And then Teeny will roll over. So I'm running the show now.
There you go. They do that quick lawyer math for sure. And that's probably why a lot of lawyers stay hidden. Like, oh, yeah, I'm in sales or whatever. It's like,
exactly.
Okay. So they get to tribal. I think really the only notes I had here was Rome saying, I'm going to vote, or I'm going to steal a vote to benefit my alliance and vote with people I trust.
Mhm.
Or he threw out trust somehow right before stealing Keyshawn's vote.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he trusts Keyshawn after Keyshawn was working to vote him out. It's pretty easy, right? Somebody told him like, "Hey, this is the plan." Was it Genevieve who told him that? Who
Fucking Genevieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's rolling with her now. And like, I think he was just so heartbroken because he worked so hard to get people to like him. And he did, like, to his credit, he told everybody everything about his plan and how he was doing this to keep, Lavo strong and all that. We've talked about it ad nauseum. It's a single elimination game where only one person wins. Like there's only a team until there doesn't have to be a team anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But he was really like emotionally distraught.
Yeah. He very much is the kid that like probably got bullied all of his life for breathing through his giant mouth. And he's found this lane. I haven't seen his channel. I'm only assuming, but he's found this lane where he gets rewarded by being just so extra, so exaggerated. All the fucking YouTubers are that, right? All the kids want to see the crazy reaction videos of like, oh, yeah. And now you're on Survivor and it doesn't quite translate. Like you kind of have to be a little bit smarter, a little bit more subdued. And this guy just so fucking extra and out there. And I think that he's used to getting that glorification, getting that instant feedback of like, oh, you're so funny. You're like, oh my God, here's $10. Thanks for streaming,
Is that what you
in real world? Yeah, $10 over the course of a month, maybe.
Yeah, nice.
Not for this one, though. This one is just for us.
Yeah. I think there's probably something to be said for that. And I think it might be partially a generational thing too, where like so many people are dependent and reliant on that instantaneous feedback and, feeling like if you can't get it through like a third party medium, like a YouTube channel or Instagram or something like that, you're just going to be a caricature of yourself and do outlandish things to get the laughs in the moment. But they're not laughing with him, Bird.
No, they aren't. But one thing they are doing is working with him along with the lawyer's plan. Fucking somehow she forced Rome and Saul to work together in order to blindside Keyshawn. It fucking worked. And he said, oh, wow, really? Wow, really, guys? It's pretty great. He's out.
It is great. I mean, Genevieve, like, that was a move for the short term, but it was a move for, like, the long term and then the end game also. Because I think Keyshawn, if he were to make these moves happen and be at the end of the game, like, he's going to be a really tough person to beat. And now you still have that contention within your tribe between Saul and Rome. So you're not going to be a target because they still hate each other.
They still hate each other. That is a good point because like that hasn't gone away and that just elongates. That just means you're not going to be the next one either, likely.
Right.
As long as you can play the middle.
So yeah, it limps you along, but then it also puts in motion like that end of the game strategy, right? You eliminated a truly big threat. It was a big move that nobody saw coming, and it's going to get you like probably a couple more weeks down the road also.
Smart. I hate to admit it, it's smart. I did want to see Rome gone, though.
Yeah,
that was a big bummer.
But Keyshawn kind of bothered me, too, this week.
Yeah. His whole, like, I want to start some chaos. Shut up.
Just the flamboyant arrogance was just like, that's a bit much. I liked it better when you were the reserve doctor who just said wise things every once in a while.
Yeah. How he's like, man, Rome's a fucking clown. I'm going to play a more subdued game. I was like, yes, smart. And he outed himself, right? Like he kind of showed his hand a little bit.
Well, and I mentioned it, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, where he said something that was a little too smart. Like, oh man, don't John yourself.
He Johned himself.
He Johned himself. Oh, did you know that Dice was talking in the chat?
I saw it, yeah. And unless you're watching Survivor, then yeah, you're probably not going to know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah, learn about it.
Ever fucking watched along to a watch along?
Yeah, seriously, what's he doing? Just making like successful music?
Probably.
Yeah, nerd.
We did have 2 new bangers that are hot off the presses. So that'll be very good. Oh, look, Mr. Guess who's watching still?
Oh, love that.
I also just noticed right at the end, as we're wrapping up, the entire bottom says episode 3. It was actually episode 4.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, we did discuss parts of episode 3. You opened with episode 3.
That's right.
So we win
What a
again.
great pivot. What a great
Yeah.
pivot. This is a well-oiled machine, folks. Dice, don't get your feelings hurt. Just watch Survivor. Then you'll know what we're talking about. It's a great season this season. Well, okay. I don't know if would you call this a great season so far, DJB?
No.
I kind of hate it, to be honest.
We'll see how it plays out. There's definitely some characters still left in there, but I want to see some more screen time for other people who may be normal.
Look, as an ally, we all know on the record, huge ally. Believe women, hashtag.
You're going to say something that's going to get you canceled now.
No, what I'm saying is a lot of misogyny this season, and I don't like to see it. It kind of sucks. So, as a friend of somebody who has a girl, as a friend of a girl dad, hate to see it.
Yeah, I really don't like it either. That's why I don't like Gabe. That's why I didn't like TK. But I have a feeling like everything kind of comes around. Like, I think Carolyn really is going to help Sue see the light and be like, Gabe is a complete D-bag and he's super misogynistic and he's full of himself and he's only viewing people as pawns. And that's not cool, sis.
He's just not smart enough to be acting like he's this fucking, master wizard.
Yeah, like
right?
What has he done? What has he done?
Nothing.
They got TK out. That's it. Because
and everyone wanted him out.
Yeah. He was just. It was everybody but Kyle.
Yeah.
So because you weren't Kyle, like you're a genius now.
Yeah. He thinks he put together some master alliance, and really all the girls like, this guy just laughed in my face and said he wouldn't work with losers. I'm a fucking loser now. Yeah, you're gone. Yeah. Who run the world?
Girls.
Yeah, there they are.
Yeah, there they are.
All right. Well, that's another episode. Episode 4, not 3, of Survivor season 47. Any last words, DJB?
Yeah, before we go, I always like to hear what your predictions are. Are you still rolling with your girl? Let me know.
I'm just going to keep rolling. I think Rachel, she didn't get much screen time this time. In fact, she's kind of been largely absent since trying to steal rice and shove it in that back pocket of hers. But I think she's smart. I think she's in the middle. And judging so far, that's my girl. I will also say Sam, like, I'm going to roll with my number 1 because I chose her early on, and that's just what it is. But Sam's my guy. He's rooting the fuck out of Andy. I can't get enough of it. Rudy. Like, you cracked a coconut. Like, do you see how much they hype this fucking idiot up anytime he does anything? Oh my God, you drew the perfect concentric circle in the sand. It's wild. And he needs that. And they picked it up.
They know that he needs that. Otherwise, he's going to have another meltdown and implode in front of everybody else.
Yeah. So, Sam, if I was to switch, he'd be the one. But also, I don't think that he's going to make it for long, just with the way the tribe dynamics are, right? I think all the girls are going to kind of see he's a real threat. I don't necessarily know that he's hiding it. And especially with the dating rumors of him and Sierra, people are going to want to split those two up,
He's a wolf who's gonna dress like a wolf. Didn't he say something like that?
Yeah. Yes, he
Or
did.
no, he's a wolf in wolf's clothing. Something.
Yeah. Which I really didn't like him at first because of that comment. And then I kind of forgot all about it because much worse has been said.
Mhm.
Like from actual meaning worse too, like from worse places. He was just kind of being a dick, but you know.
I think that's also him saying like I'm not gonna act like I'm feeble when I know I'm an athlete and I'm a smart dude. Like I'm just gonna go out there and do what I could do. So
Respect.
I like Sam too. I'm really interested to see what Saul does now that he has a new lease on life. And I still like Kyle, even though I know he's probably on the outs for Tuku right now. But Carolyn's still my girl.
I like Carolyn now too. But you know, we can only choose one each. So Rachel's my
Carolyn.
girl.
I'm going
All right.
Carolyn.
Rachel v. Carolyn. All right. Well, that's it for another episode. Tune in next Sunday as we discuss the previous week's Survivor, episode 5, where I'm sure we'll see Rachel do a bunch of cool shit.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Peace out.